What's up? J Street Moto here, and welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for deciding to watch this video, and I hope that you enjoy the content. This will be episode 11, which is really day 13 of a 15-day trip that me and my two best friends took from Charlotte, North Carolina, or that area, to the Pacific Ocean and back. Ultimately, we ended up doing about 7,000 miles, a little over 7,000 miles, in about 12 and a half days of riding time through 21 different states in the U.S. So today's trip is from Eau Claire, Wisconsin, ultimately to Saginaw, Michigan. But this trip's kind of special because when we were putting it together at the beginning of this year, we all kind of decided, let's not ride through Chicago. We wanted to take a ferry across Lake Michigan, and there happened to be a high-speed one that left from Milwaukee and ended up in Muskegon, Michigan. So we took that ferry today, and that's what got us across the lake. Ultimately, we end up in Saginaw for the end of the day. So this is one of the days where we are, in terms of riding time, it's one of the shorter days. In terms of travel time, it's about the same that we've been doing. We got up. Let's talk about taking the ferry because that's an interesting prospect to begin with. We were able, on the night of day 12, while we were at dinner and shortly after dinner, we were able to book our reservations on the ferry, go ahead and pay for our tickets in advance. We had all that stuff on our phones, and we just showed up basically in Milwaukee at the time the ferry was supposed to leave, pulled the bikes on, strapped them down, and took off. Now, unbeknownst to us, we didn't know at the time that we made the reservation that the departure point for the ferry in Milwaukee was like 2.5 miles away from the Harley Museum that's there in Milwaukee. So while we did not have the time in our schedule based on when they opened to go through the museum and still make the ferry, we were able to go to where the museum was, see the original shack that the Davidson brothers and Harley, made their first motorcycle in, and visit the gift shop there. So we were able to get a couple of things from the museum, which was kind of cool. The ferry was an interesting prospect because all of us ended up bringing straps to tie down our bikes. Ultimately, it wasn't needed because that ferry has straps for motorcycles, so all you do is pull in, basically lash your bike down, and you go for a ride for 95 miles, and it takes about 2 hours, which was really kind of cool. It gave us a chance to meet some cool people. You'll hear about them a little bit later in this video, but yeah, it was an interesting way to deal with a certain section of this trip, and it gave us all a break. So one thing that was interesting, when we pull in to the place where we meet the ferry, that was where we decided to go ahead and try and make our hotel reservations for the night in Saginaw. Now I should back it up a little bit. The whole reason that we are going to Saginaw, Michigan is because a guy that David and I know through the martial arts that we train with, he owns a restaurant in Saginaw, a Mexican restaurant. And if you've been watching any of these videos, you know that David, Juan, and I are all big fans of Mexican food, especially good Mexican food. And so we had told this gentleman, his name's Joe, we had told Joe that we were going to stop by his restaurant in Saginaw for dinner this night. So we kind of already knew where we were eating dinner. Then it was just a matter of finding a hotel in Saginaw that was near that restaurant. Therein is where the problem lied. It was funny because this is the first and only day of the entire trip that we ran into issues getting a hotel. And when I say we ran into issues, I literally called 14 different hotels in the Saginaw area before I was able to find one that could accommodate us. Now, we did not know at the time, and it wasn't even a thought that crossed my mind or that I even considered. There was a lacrosse tournament, a youth league lacrosse tournament that was going on in Saginaw. I'm going to pause the story for a second because what you're seeing in the video right now is we are in Milwaukee, and we are getting ready to make the turn to turn into where the Harley Davidson Museum and that big complex is at in downtown Milwaukee. We just crossed over the bridge, and there it is right in front of us. The gift shop's over to the left. The museum is dead in front of us. And, I was just glad that I was able to capture us pulling in here and parking. Because I really had no clue where the place was at. I wasn't the one leading, so I didn't have it plugged into the GPS. But anyway, back to the story. So we were going to meet Joe at his restaurant, and we needed a place to stay in Saginaw. And unfortunately, there was a youth lacrosse tournament that was taking place in Saginaw when we were going through there, which meant there were absolutely 0 rooms available. And so there was a point in time where we actually kind of looked at each other and were like, I'm on the Bed a Biker site or whatever it is, that one where you stay with random people. Maybe we should look at going on there and seeing if we can find a place to stay in Saginaw, because this is not looking good. Ultimately, we did find a room that accommodated the 3 of us, and we were okay. But it took us longer than any other day of the trip to find a room. Most of the time we called a place, and the first place that we called was like, yep, we've got it, we got you covered, made the reservation, and went on. So like I said, we didn't go through the museum. We did buy a couple of things there. I think everybody got a pen or a patch, and just some little stuff at the Harley gift shop that was there. And then we made our way over to where the ferry leaves. Taking the ferry was an interesting experience, and unfortunately I did not get video of us riding on. I only got video of us riding off. So you'll see that a little bit later. But it was an interesting way to travel. Instead of, having to go through Chicago, we were able to just sit back, relax. We all bought food on the boat while we were crossing the lake. They had a restaurant there. We bought food and ate and just kind of chilled out and met people while we were cruising across Lake Michigan. And on that note, one of the people we met, it was probably one of the most interesting individuals I encountered the entire 15 days. As we're sitting out front waiting for the ferry to board, the bikes are parked, we're kind of standing over underneath a tree drinking some water and calling 1,000 hotels trying to find a place for us to sleep. I look up and there's some bikes, and when I say bikes, I mean bicycles, like, the pedaling kind of bicycle, not like what we're on. And as we're standing there, we're talking, and turns out one of the guys that is there getting ready to get on the ferry with his bicycle is from London. He's from Great Britain, the UK. And he had started about a month before this point in time. He had started riding his bicycle from the Golden Gate Bridge across the U.S. He was ultimately trying to get to the Brooklyn Bridge before he stopped, and then he was going to fly home. And we all just were like, holy crap. I thought we were hardcore in terms of going out and riding a motorcycle for 7,000 miles in a few days. This guy's out there literally pedaling through some of the areas that we rode through on the bikes. And given the weather situations and everything else, I'm just like, dude, you are we're impressed, and you know, we got to know the guy, talked to him for a little while, told him about the fundraiser. On that note, the fundraiser is still open. We are still collecting donations for Susan G to fight breast cancer, and we're going to be doing that until after all of these videos are posted. And if you're keeping track, this is day 13, so there's really only 2 videos left that are going to drop in this series. At that point, we will close the fundraiser, and whatever we made is what we made. So we were talking to him about that. We got to know him a little bit. We all kind of like hung out on the boat and just talked. There's a picture with him later that I will point out. So this is, I took a video of the bike. Specifically, I took a video of how the bike was set up for this trip. You can see where the camera's mounted. You can see definitely how dirty the bike is after this many miles on the road. The Airhawk seat, you can see it right there on top of my seat. And again, I cannot say enough about that. That was a total game changer. You can see how I pack the bike out. I just have that one bag there with, you know, my helmet on top of it. And that's where I mount the camera to take the videos. I mount it to the handlebars. So yeah, I took a quick little video there to do that and to show that. So if you're interested, there it is. And there are the pictures of the bikes while we were calling the hotels. I think in a second here, we're going to have a picture of us with the, oh, there it is. Those are the bikes lashed down. That's when we parked them on the ferry and tied them down. Again, the high-speed ferry was freaking amazing. It was a cool way to travel across Lake Michigan. We were one of the first ones on, and we were one of the first ones off. Now, the guy in the far right, in the pink shirt, is the British guy that we met that was riding his bike across country. And I think he is done and probably back in London by the time this video posts. I can't remember what his timetable was, but he still had a month in front of him of hard riding to get to the Brooklyn Bridge. Don't know whether he made it or not. Don't have a way to get in touch with him. We talked, but we never exchanged real information. So this is us leaving the ferry. We left Wisconsin. We are now in Michigan, and we are heading to Saginaw. Let's talk about where we're going to eat tonight. So, Sombrero's Restaurant in Saginaw, Michigan. The best Mexican food that we had the entire trip, bar none. And we got a special surprise when we got there. So, as I mentioned, we know Joe through martial arts because David and I have trained with him. Joe's teacher teaches David and I remotely. We have that connection. Joe's teacher was able to come up from Flint to Saginaw and meet us for dinner. So we got to see, and his name's Garner Train. We got to see him this night when we're there at dinner, which was an amazing experience because David and I had kind of given Juan a hint into kind of the mystique that is Garner Train. This guy is known for being able to create significant levels of amount of pain, and Juan, of course, knows this. So while we are eating, Juan decides to, hey, you know, I want to see you do something, but do it to Jim, me. Do it to me, not to David and not to him. And of course, I then told Garner, you know, that we had kind of given Juan a prelude to, you know, what he was about. And ultimately, Garner ends up putting Juan in a significant amount of pain, which was hilarious for all of us. And there is a picture of that a little bit later in this video. So, I should, shameless plug, if you're liking the content, it's going to continue after these trips are done. After these videos are done from our trip. I've got a ton of video already kind of in the can for rides that we've done since we've been home through the rest of the summer. And I'm going to continue to release videos every Tuesday and Friday at 9 a.m. So if you're digging the content, if you're liking it, please like the videos. It helps me. Subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. Then you'll know when it comes out. I appreciate every single one of you that have subscribed to the channel. I'm kind of overwhelmed at how much the channel's grown since I started putting these videos out of our trip. And the content is going to be very different than what is exposed here. Because right here, we're just kind of talking about this trip that we took. Going forward, there's going to be riding videos, of course, but the content's going to be slightly different, and there are going to be other things like installation videos and how to do certain things on your bike, etc. So if you're digging that content, please click the subscribe button, click the notification bell, and of course like the videos if you're liking them, even if you don't decide to subscribe to the channel. So there's that shameless plug. Let's talk about day 14 real quick. So day 14, which will be the next episode, it will drop on Tuesday, because this is dropping on a Friday. It will cover our trip from Saginaw, Michigan, down to Beckley, West Virginia, and that's going to be an interesting video to watch. There's a good story that goes with it, so feel free to come back and see that one when it comes out. And right here, I think we're getting ready. There it is. There's Juan being put in pain by Garner Train, and David and I were both. That made our day. So again, thank you for watching the video. I hope you're enjoying it. Thanks to all the people that supported us along the trip. And, as always, ride safe.